Hello and welcome to the BOC preparatory workshop, and specifically we're looking at our assignment for creating a budget for the BOC. So you should be able to open up your assignment description here, and the first thing that we want you to do is to utilize your candidate handbook, and specifically Appendix D, page 27, along with other web sources to determine the expenses. The BOC process is an expensive one, and thus another reason why we take you through this preparatory workshop, so that you can pass it on the first attempt and not have to have all those expenses incurred over and over and over again. But let's specifically note the candidate handbook. Again, noting our home page on the BOC Prep website, it's extremely important to note our references and handouts on the side. If you'll note down here in handbooks and references, you're going to see that BOC candidate handbook. You need to familiarize yourselves with this document. This needs to be by your bedside, and you need to read through it thoroughly and understand each step and process in getting ready for and prepared for the BOC exam. So that's what you're going to look at. Is you're going to look at that candidate handbook. And then from that, you're going to take a look at what your expenses are. So, you know, this is no commercial for Holiday Inn, but it's just an example. What you need to figure out is how much is it going to cost you to do all this. So we're going to look at some of these things like the cost of the exam, how much will travel, how much will lodging cost, and the different study guides and materials. So as we look at, you need to pick a location. Now you don't have to take it right here nearest to school, you can take it somewhere else, but we have a link to the different locations. And here's an example. Again, Castle Worldwide is the test administrators for the BOC exam, much like some of you may experience during the ACT or SAT when you took it for college entrance. So they use these auxiliary test centers, and they're located all over the United States. And right here is just a link that lists where each test center is and is located. So you can figure that, because that's gonna impact your food and your lodging. So in this table, we just want you to figure this out. So using your candidate handbook and using the Castle Worldwide website, along with looking up for some different costs of hotels, etc., figure out what's it going to cost you for the application fee, the registration fee, travel, gas, study materials, or even workshops that you may have attended. And some of you may have already done this, like with the ACES preparatory workshop. So what's the cost? How are you going to access that money? Is this going to come out of your own pocket? Is this something you're going to have to charge to a credit card, and then who's ultimately responsible for that? Is this something that your parents are going to have to pay for? Because really, again, this is something y'all are going to be taking next year, and you're going to need to budget for this, and you need to have a realistic idea as to how much it's going to cost you, and or allow your parents or other significant others or guardians to budget for that so they know what the expense is going to be, because it may catch you off guard just how much it's going to cost you to prepare for this thing. And then from there, where did you get that resource and that quote? Where did you find that information? A page in the candidate handbook, a website reference, something that allows you to go back to it later on to find it again, because we're likely to forget over time. So take a look at that. Okay, and again, active reflection, so important to this process. So discuss your reaction to the potential expenses above. What do you think about it? How is it going to impact you? Did it surprise you in a good way, in a bad way? What are your thoughts? Okay. Then what you need to think about is, what would the financial cost be if you were to accidentally miss that exam date, or you forgot your required documentation? This has happened. And you need to take a look at, in those situations, that there is a penalty for making silly mistakes like this, and they will not let you off the hook. Okay, so you have to make sure you're prepared for that date. So you need to see what happens if by mistake one of these things were to happen, whether you're late, you missed your date, or maybe you forgot the appropriate documentation. And then lastly, what would the financial implications be if you had to take the exam multiple times? So how does this hit your bottom line? What would it mean if you had to take it a second time? Would that mean you have to skip an exam cycle, for example, so you had to save up the money? You know, if it was your parents or guardians that are paying for the exam, you need to ask them, how would this be paid for if I had to take it a second time? So you need to have those things in mind, and it allows you to have those very, very important discussions and think about what the implications are. So once again, this is your description on creating a budget for the BOC. Again, Castle Worldwide is a very valuable resource. Also going back to your web page and finding that BOC candidate handbook. If for some reason you, along with this, just want to examine more of the board certification website, you can just come into the candidates section here on the website, and you'll note there is a plethora of things for you to view, including exam preparation tools, applying for the exam, rescheduling exams, etc.